Hello and welcome to the OCVarsity Gridiron Extra Show. I'm your host, Jonathan Khamis. To my left, Dan Albano. To my right, Steve Fryer. Guys, we're here at Rancho Alamitos. They are ready to play Garden Grove in a Garden Grove League showdown. Rancho Alamitos is 5-1 on the year. Garden Grove is 4-2 on the year. This game is Friday night at Bolsa Grande High School. Now, Grove beat Rancho twice last season, Steve. 35-0 in the CIF final. They also beat him 35-7 earlier that year. But we were talking to their head coach earlier, and he only has 3 starters returning this year. So, Rancho versus Garden Grove. Who you got?
Well, Garden Grove's not as good as they were last year, but they're still good, and they're still the best team in the league. The one thing Rancho's got, they can throw the football. And when you can throw the football in high school ball, that gives you that comeback factor that a lot of teams don't have. And if you're a running team and you're going to practice, preparing to play a passing team, trying to replicate that passing team practice is really hard. So you still get kind of shell-shocked when this team can just throw the ball and get first downs, move the chains, go, 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 which Rancho can do. That all being said, we talked about teams being sort of the more complete package, fellas. I think Garden Grove's got that more complete thing going on. But it's how you play the day you play, so we'll see what happens.
Rancho's Blake Colbert had 4 touchdowns last week, Dan. He's playing really well. Garden Grove beat Santiago last week 61-0 behind a familiar name, Jordan Antonez, who's still there at Grove and still playing very, very well. They lose Nick Brown here at Rancho, who compiled some ridiculous numbers last season, Dan, as we mentioned, going all the way to the CIF championship game. This game usually decides the league. Garden Grove 4-2, but they're really good, like Steve said.
Yeah, the thing with Antonez, I talked to Ted McMillan, the Westminster coach. Lions earlier this year opened with a upset of Garden Grove, but he was really high on Antonez. He said he's probably the best back in this Southern Division, and he's a difference maker in this division. So that's where Garden Grove loves to run the ball. They have a big offensive line. That's going to be real problems for the Vaqueros. This is a special rivalry. It did a lot of positive things for the city of Garden Grove last year. The Garden Grove League was a powerhouse last year. I think they had 4 teams that won in the first round of the playoffs. That was the only division in Orange County last year that won 4 playoff games. Coach Enright, said kind of the obvious. It's not as strong as last year, but Coach Enright put it well. It doesn't mean that the Garden Grove League won't be back. Rancho will, I think will be back, and some of these other teams that are struggling a little bit this year will be back. But right now, Garden Grove is the team to beat.
Okay, and speaking of Coach Enright, we talked to him earlier and a couple of his players. Here's what they had to say.
The run to the playoffs was awesome and it was fun. Wish we would have played better in the finals, but Garden Grove's been there 5 or 6 years, and they haven't lost a league game since 2011. I think we were the last team to beat them then. And so, it's a tough football game, but you always look forward to tough competition.
Around classmates, it's always the question, are you guys going to beat Grove? Is Grove beatable? Are you guys going to beat Grove? It's the question of the week, and it's honestly the question of the year too. So it all depends, how we focus and how we play as a team together.
We were working hard ever since summer, We didn't let that affect us. Many seniors left. We're very excited. It's going to be a good game, Grove's always a tough opponent, so we're waiting on it.
Our thanks to Coach Enright and the Vaqueros players. Steve, you're actually checking out some Garden Grove League action on Thursday.
Yeah, La Quinta Bolsa Grande. I've covered this game a couple times over the years, and sometimes this is the one game that these two teams can win, because they've been in the lower levels in terms of quality for quite some time. There's a couple of interesting things about La Quinta, too. I guess their freshman team is really good this year. Their freshman team beat Rancho. So La Quinta, all of a sudden, they got some numbers over there. They got some good size on the freshman team. You always worry about these sort of programs, like faltering off pretty bad. But La Quinta's got it going right now. Garden Grove Athletics is pretty good. That Garden Grove League Athletics is pretty good. Tell you what, they play some really good basketball in the Grove League, man. I'll tell you, they well-coached kids who play their tails off, good shooters, good defensive players. I love covering Garden Grove League Athletics, guys.
Yeah, we'll save that for the OCVarsity Hoop Show coming out in a couple months after football season. Yeah, I bet you can. Dan, you had a couple stats about the Garden Grove League before we finish up here.
Well, it's an interesting game. I think Rancho's got. They're in an interesting place if they don't win this game. But because you got to watch out for Los Amigos. You know, Los Amigos started out really slow this season. They got a victory last week. They play Santiago this week. They could go to 2-0. So that's one of the teams that Rancho's got to watch out for. So we'll see what where this this shuffles out. I don't know if La Quinta can get back in this or not, but it's going to be interesting where this playoff how the playoff seedings come out of this league, because like we said, last year they did so well. There'll be some teams in the Southern Division that aren't going to want to see, maybe a hot Rancho Alamitos team. You're not going to want to see Garden Grove in the playoffs, because these guys can play, and when it comes down to it.
Yep, and they're battle tested because they play each other, and they play each other hard and tough. Yeah, it sure is. All right, thanks to Dan Albano, thanks to Steve Fryer.
Like
You're gonna. We had
the salvage yard,
the junkyard in the back.
Yeah. If you practice next to a salvage yard, you're tough, guys.
I agree wholeheartedly. All right, thanks to Dan Albano. That's Steve Fryer. For all your latest football updates this weekend, check out OCVarsity.com, where we've got you covered.
My first car's over in that salvage.
Oh, is that what it was? I saw. What was the make of that vehicle?
It's a '66 Volkswagen, caught fire.